Hi, good morning, single moms, and welcome to this week's episode of God's Grace for Single Mothers. Today, we're going to be talking about establishing single mom family standards. And that simply means trying to establish the standards of values and practices and traditions for your own family. Why is this important? All of us were raised by a particular family, in particular family structures and systems, and we come away from those things, from those systems with good or bad practices. Oftentimes, when we become parents, we want to replicate the good practices that we had in our own system growing up, and we want to avoid the bad ones. Um, you'll hear things like, I got a whooping. I was never allowed to do that. You know, if you talk to me like this, or if you told a child. So there's all these kind of things. And the place that comes from is because the standards for raising families that we know are the ones that we want to adopt. The problem is the practices and standards for all family, they're not the same for all families. We were raised in different time contexts. We were raised with different resources that were available to our parents. They were raised with different constraints. And now that you are a single parent, you are operating on a totally different dynamic that the world has not been used to, that parents themselves have not been used to. The way modern world has responded to single parenting has been met with negativity instead of positivity. And so a lot of us don't have many good role models to pick from. And even if you do have good role models, the truth is that people are not robots. They are not clones. You can't just take a person and put them in a situation and try to duplicate what you saw in another place. When you try to do that, you end up harming your family. So here is the thing. Successful parents are those, whether single parents or two-parent homes, they are the ones who practice adaptive parenting. Adaptive parenting means taking into consideration the time and space that your children live in, and you all live in, and also the children's personality that comes into play, and you have to adapt your parenting styles to what is best for your family. In all of this, I want to be clear that I am not saying throw out values, but what I'm saying is you have to pick and choose which values are the most important to your family at particular times. You cannot look at somebody else's practice or look at somebody else's values and decide this is what we're going to adopt. You need to look at your own family and wisely discern at this point in time, what do my children need the most? And how can I best get that for them within the situation, within the circumstances that we live in? And so to help us do that, there are some very basic foundational things that I would encourage you to look at. So things like values, things as simple as our faith. We can't even go through them in the same approach as our parents went. I grew up in a family where morning and night we had family altar. You rang the bell at 6 o'clock, and from the youngest to the oldest, everybody got up. And you gathered at the table and you read the Bible together, and you prayed. The evening, the same thing. Everybody, there was no excuses, was just accepted. I grew up in a place where the male, once he says it, it's the male figure in the house. Once he says it, that's it. There is no arguing. But how many of you are living in situations today that if you say, I want to pass on my faith to my child, can you be honest and say you can succeed in waking your children up 6 a.m. in the morning and all of us gather around the table and have that family devotion? Very few people can do it. Smart parents have learned to adopt. They're either reading the Bible to their children while the children are having breakfast, or they decide to have a family devotion instead. There are many things people talk to us about, eating together and all kinds of things. You have to figure out what's best for your family and do it without any feelings of guilt. Understanding that as you're adapting, as long as you're providing what your children really need, the love, the care, the security, God is in it. So I want to challenge you today. Go back home and ease the burden on yourself by stop comparing yourself with other families. Determine what are the standards that you want for your own family. Look at your family context and see, are those reasonable standards, and how can you achieve them without breaking your family. I've had to make a lot of changes to my life. I grew up with parents that are neat freaks. They place a thing somewhere and they know exactly where it is. In the dark, they can go get it. You guys saw a video I made a few months ago. My house is a mess. It took me years to adjust to living with this order because I had to choose, what's more important, coming into the house and demanding everything be speak and span and everything in its place, or just taking the time to just enjoy sitting down and having some time with my daughter. However, there are other areas that we might choose that there's no negotiation. But whatever you do, you have to balance it. Is it right for your family? Does it convey the most love, security, value to your children? Does it come to support what God intends for you guys at that particular time? And don't compare yourself to others, because it is God at the end of the day that has the final say on your parenting efforts. And don't forget, He's in there with you, blessing and lifting you up. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how inept you might feel, as long as you keep doing your part, the Lord's grace will cover you and your children for the rest. Thanks for listening today. I look forward to joining you next week. And please, leave your questions, leave your comments, and please don't forget, share this video with your single mom families, the single mom communities, the communities that we live in. And our communities, as usual, I have a message for you. Don't judge single mom family standards. You don't know what makes them make the choices they make. It's not your place to judge. Instead, come alongside them, support them, pray for them, respect them. Their choices might not be your choices, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Okay? Thanks for listening, and God bless you.